Hey guys, I'm the Berk and I do things. In today's video, I have been wanting to film for a while, but I never really got the chance to sit down and write down my thoughts of how I wanted to organize this video until this past week. So essentially I'm going to do a Chatty Get Ready with me, but talk about my history into my growing interest in true crime, I guess you can say, because for a long time I felt like I was weird and alone in my true crime love. I don't think that's the right word, but you know what I mean. And now I feel like today it's just very common and accepted to be into true crime. So I'll kind of take you on the journey of my life with true crime. And then at the end of the video, I'm actually going to discuss which channels I like to watch. And also I would love if you guys are into true crime to leave channel recommendations in the comment section for me to subscribe to, because I definitely feel like it's my most consumed media at this moment. So yeah, if you guys want to hear about my experiences with true crime and some channel recommendations, then keep on watching. Let's go. I got this sweater at my local thrift shop this year, and it's the first time wearing it, and I feel like I don't know if I like it. The holes are in a they're not how I expected. They kind of looked a lot smaller and not so in my wingspan when I picked it out at the thrift shop, so I don't know how I feel about it. A cat just ran into my door. I'm not sure they have a brain, either of them. And if you are wondering about any makeup, everything will be listed in the description box. So when I was planning this video, I was trying to think back of my earliest memory of being into we'll call it mysteries, because maybe murder isn't what I was into as a kid, but one of the first book series I really remember being into as a kid was Nancy Drew. I don't remember if they were my mom's old Nancy Drew books, but they were not brand new books. I remember they were hand-me-downs from someone, but I remember I had all these little chapter books of Nancy Drew books that I just loved to read, and I just remember loving the mystery, and I remember thinking that they were really scary. At the time, I used to get very nervous reading them. I don't like horror, I don't like suspenseful movies, but for some reason I don't have that same kind of feeling, I guess, with true crime. I don't know why. I feel like maybe because it's more a learning moment and not so much a let's see how much we can scare the audience moment. But yeah, so as a child, my earliest memory with my love of mystery is reading Nancy Drew books. Now in the realm of Nancy Drew, I used to read a lot as a teenager, and I will say back then I was reading a lot of teen girl fiction, all the Gossip Girls. I was buying the book the day the new Gossip Girl book came out. That's where I was as a teenager. I wasn't so much reading into mystery anymore, but I felt as I got a little older and I went to college and stuff, my focus left the fiction side of reading, and I only really had a passion for reading nonfiction. And even to this day, I don't think I can read fiction anymore. I really only enjoy reading nonfiction at this point, still to this day. And it kind of makes sense because when I was in college, I actually went to college originally as a history major. So learning about the past and things that have happened has always kind of been an interest of mine. I did not keep my history major for financial reasons, which I could make a whole video about my opinions on the education system in America. That's kind of how my reading journey went. I was very into mystery, and then I went to teenage fiction, and then it really sorted into only wanting to read nonfiction. Now, before I start talking about my journey with consuming television and documentaries and stuff, I think a big thing that a lot of true crime, I don't know if fans is the word is, but there's always the story that sucks you in at first. And I honestly remember the murder that sucked me into true crime. I was in college when it happened, and it was the Laci Peterson murder. I remember consuming so much media on Scott Peterson, and I think the story was so alarming at the time that it was his pregnant wife and she'd gone missing and he had a mistress, and watching that whole story unfold. And then I think there was a movie made on it, and for me that was the first time I really remember openly looking for information, seeking out more information. I wasn't really a news consuming person. I didn't sit and watch news stories, but something about that case I just needed to keep consuming more information about, because I think there were so many unanswered questions, and I still think to this day there's a lot of unanswered questions, and that was the one that really kind of got me into true crime. If you remember the story that got you guys into true crime, I'd love to see in the comments what story introduced you guys. I don't know. Something about the wording when it comes to true crime is always a little iffy. So kind of the way I was with books, where I went from fiction to nonfiction, I feel like I sort of had a very similar journey with television. So in college, around the time of the Laci Peterson story, my favorite TV show was Bones. I still to this day think it's one of my all-time favorite shows. I absolutely love Bones. I'm pretty sure I own every season on DVD, not that I even have a DVD player anymore. It was my office of my college years, if you know what I mean. Like, the way I can just sit down and watch The Office a million times, that's why I was with Bones in college. I have watched most episodes multiple times. When I was in college, it was kind of I don't want to say it was pre-streaming services, but it was like pre-people, really average people, I feel like, having streaming services, if that makes sense. I feel like having a streaming service was like a luxury back then. We didn't have fancy like internet, so it's not like it would have been easy to stream it. So it really wasn't until after college, when I started using Netflix, that I was able to kind of find more content to consume, because even back then with YouTube, I wasn't consuming YouTube the way I consume YouTube today. Like, back then, the only YouTube I was consistently watching was like my weekly Jenna Marbles video, if that makes sense. Through the access of Netflix, I started fully binge watching every season of SVU, every season of Criminal Minds, every season of NCIS, which, you know, it's not quite true crime, but it still has that same kind of spice to it, so to speak. But then, it was probably around 2016 or 2017, Netflix introduced me to Forensic Files. And I feel like Forensic Files was like the turning point, because it was real cases. It was real crime scene photos. It was real police interrogation videos. It was everything. Some of it was even a little surprising how much they would show, honestly. But I just fully stopped consuming anything else except Forensic Files for probably months. I don't know how long it took me to watch all Forensic Files, but I know that I've seen every single episode. And I've heard, unfortunately, that Netflix no longer is streaming Forensic Files. But my goodness, if you are into true crime, like that is to me like the OG true crime source, at least for me. But I will say, I tried to like look through my Netflix account and see like what type of things I have watched that are in that true crime realm, and this is the list I came up with. And I will say, going on Netflix at that time and like looking for content, I never knew how to search, and I feel like I would type murder into the search bar, which always at that time especially made me feel so weird. But different things that I had in my watched include Unsolved Mysteries, The Sinner, I Am a Killer, Mindhunter. Mindhunter was such a good show. I'm pretty sure it got canceled, but it was all about the creation of the profilers in the FBI and how they would profile serial killers and stuff. So good. Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile. That's the Ted Bundy movie with Zac Efron. The Assassination of Gianni Versace, Making a Murderer, Amanda Knox, the Ted Bundy tapes, the confession tapes. Like, I feel like I haven't even consumed that much content, honestly, for like the average true crime viewer. But I feel like Netflix really gave me access to something I didn't have before, because I don't think I would have ever really seen any of that stuff if I couldn't have so easily accessed it on Netflix. Of course, until it became sort of mainstream now, but we'll get into that in a bit. Actually, a bit is right now. And my first channel I started consuming the true crime content was Baileysarian. Now, in 2019, I had heard Jen Love's Reviews had recommended Bailey's murder mystery makeup series. I kind of just like checked it out on a whim, and I fully binge watched every single video she had made at that time, which was only a couple months worth of content. And it was just, I was like, this idea is amazing. It's literally like a Chatty get ready with me, but it's storytelling. And to me, storytelling is really an art. I don't have that art. I'm not very good at storytelling, which is why I really could never make true crime content as much as I would I don't know if I would enjoy it, but it's just, storytelling isn't one of my fortes, let's just put it that way. But at this point, I really had only seen Bailey doing this on YouTube, and I would wait every Monday for her videos to launch, and I loved watching them. I mean, I still love watching them, but back in 2019, I could have met Bailey, and it's probably one of my biggest regrets, honestly. I was standing next to her multiple times at Ipsy Creator Day in 2019 in New York, like literally standing next to her, but I was so nervous. Like, she just has this like aura around her. Like, she is just like, she is just like this, like, I don't know. I just felt like I could not even like introduce myself without sounding like an idiot. I was so nervous. And I think around this time she had in like the 200,000 subscribers on YouTube. So like when I talk about regrets, like I wish I just said hi. I don't know why I was so scared to talk to her, but I had multiple opportunities and I blew it. But like I said, I still watch Bailey's Murder, Makeup, and Mystery every single week. And I am so into her Dark History podcast because I, like I said, used to be a history major, and I have always loved learning about history, and especially the stuff they don't really teach you in school. And I love that she has this huge platform, and she's using this platform to actually teach history, and teach history in a way that is easily consumable. And I feel like that's also an art, because I'm sure we've all had history teachers that don't make it easy to consume history, and it's very boring and bland, and being able to teach it and keep your audience engaged it's a skill for sure. Now I kind of went through my subscriptions, and besides Bailey, made a list of other channels that I like to watch. I know there are so many channels that specialize in true crime, and I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 that I'm going to talk about right now. So like I said, if you have recommendations, definitely leave them in the comments down below. But I will talk about these channels and give you guys an idea of like what type of content they are, and kind of talk about their personality, because everyone has their own way of storytelling, and I think that's a big part of making each true crime channel special to themselves. Because even if I know a case and I know of the case and I've watched videos on a case in the past, if it's a new person who's going to give their own perspective or maybe have new information, that's why I will watch videos on the same story from multiple creators, because someone always has their own kind of spin on things that they can provide, if that makes sense. Anyway, my first person on this list is Stephanie Harlow, and I only recently started watching Stephanie Harlow within the last few months or so. She has a fairly large channel, and I don't know why I had never watched her before. She is so good at getting as much information on a case as possible. I don't know how she does it, but she's currently doing a case on Anne Marie Fahey, I believe is her name. And she is currently recording her 5th segment on this case, because she goes into such in-depth detail, but it's not like overdone and boring, and I don't know how she does it. But being able to sit and record for about an hour at a time for 5 different segments on one case without making it boring or redundant, I don't know how she does it, but it is so impressive. And you know, I could just like put her on in the background while I'm washing dishes and just listen to her talk. She has a very relaxing voice. She also is very good at, you know, saying it like it is. Like if a person's a piece of trash, she's gonna let you know this person's a piece of trash. She's not going to sugarcoat it. And I appreciate that, because a lot of people in these stories are pieces of trash. The next person on my list is Eleanor Neal, and she might have 2 million subscribers. She does a lot of solved cases. Again, she usually does 2 or 3 parts depending on the story. And she also is an amazing storyteller. She is based out of the UK. Her storytelling is just, it's great. She does a really good job of showing a lot of compassion. I feel like Eleanor shows a lot of compassion in her storytelling, and she's really good at storytelling. And again, she's one that I can just put on and listen to, and she seems like such a sweet person, and I enjoy her content as well. I'm sorry if I'm really bad at like hyping these people up, but if I didn't like them, I wouldn't watch them. The next person on my list is Danielle Kirby, and she is also from the UK. She, similarly to Bailey, does her makeup while telling her stories. And I will say that Danielle definitely goes into full detail. Not all creators I watch go into full detail when telling stories. And I mean, like, when I say full detail, like, I mean like full detail of like the gruesome stuff. So if you don't really like hearing the details of something, she's probably the one on this list that I would say skip out on, because sometimes I have to like pause her videos because obviously these crimes are horrible, but sometimes people sometimes these creators don't necessarily go into the full grossness because it's hard to talk about, obviously. But I will say she typically goes into the full detail and tells the full story. But again, she's just like a very kind person, and I really enjoy her storytelling. Also, her makeup always looks really great at the end. I forget, I think she has like 300,000 subscribers. When I first found her, she only had like maybe 40 or 50,000. Like, she was much smaller when I first found her, and she's kind of exploded over the last year. Yeah, I really enjoy her channel as well. The next channel on this list is Sherrilyn Dale, and oh my god, she is amazing. She is Canadian, and she has, I think she calls it like Wine and Crime Wednesdays, where she'll have like a glass of wine and just tell a story. She is one of those people who just, you can tell how much she appreciates her subscribers just by the way she speaks to her audience, and she just has this kindness about her that I feel like I don't see very often on YouTube. She is a mom of 3, I'm pretty sure, and she just seems like such a nice, down-to-earth person. I would say of all the channels I'm talking about, she gives off that we're just sitting around talking like girlfriends kind of vibe. All right, I'm gonna do my eyeliner and then continue on with the list of channels. Okay, on to the next creator. The next person on my list is Kendall Rae. Now, I know Kendall is very, very popular, so I'm sure a lot of you have heard of her, but I just find what she does so admirable. So Kendall's channel is true crime based. However, she does a majority of unsolved cases and works with families and tries to help bring attention to unsolved cases to help, you know, reopen the cases, you know, get the information out there. So maybe someone has seen something and didn't know that they saw something. She just uses her platform for so much good. She will work with different companies and, you know, fundraise through like merch drops. Instead of like getting profits from merch drops, she makes merch specifically to donate the proceeds, and she is always donating AdSense and sponsorship money to different, you know, foundations or different families, you know, GoFundMes when they're trying to raise money to work on investigations. And you know, what she does, I feel like, is a lot different than other channels. So even though she's so large, I do think that it's important to bring attention to her channel, because she's not doing police work, but she's doing so much for these families who sometimes feel like there's no one out there helping them, and I just find her so admirable as a human. Okay, the next person on this list I want to give a little shout out to is my friend Christina. Her channel name is Christina Chang. She does a lot of like project panning content and Shop My Stash, and she's kind of where I got the idea to begin with to kind of have a goal for empties annually. But she just recently had a baby, so congratulations, Christina, you have an adorable little baby girl. Before she had her baby, she started this series around the Halloween time, and then she was doing it around the 13th of the month, but it was spooky stories, and it was very similar to where she's doing her makeup and storytelling, but she was focusing on different like hauntings and different like spooky stories, which again is just as interesting to learn because there's a lot of history involved in a lot of these stories, and I always found them very well researched, and her videos were very well executed. So I definitely recommend her channel. I'm assuming that she has all of those stories kind of in a playlist, and maybe she'll be doing them in the future once she gets a little bit more time on her hands, which as a new mom, I know that time does not exist. But I still totally recommend her channel. Okay, the next creator on this list I have is Swoop. And Swoop just kind of recently changed her content to these short documentaries, and they are not only well researched, but they are so well executed. She breaks these stories into usually 3 parts, and well, a lot of the time her content is about like maybe YouTube related problems or, you know, celebrity related problems. She also does do documentaries on true crime cases, and she tries to bring her own new spin to them. And she just, the way she researches and storytells, it's kind of unlike anyone that I've seen on YouTube, and I highly recommend it. She typically uses her sponsorship money that she gets. She typically will donate the proceeds of her sponsorships to a charity, usually related to the story she's telling. So she also uses her platform and does a lot of good with it. And then I do have one last channel, and it's funny because as I was doing my eyeliner, I was watching a True Crime video from Better Off Red. Sarah, I started watching, I want to say in 2020, and I don't know if she was doing True Crime back then, but she started doing these, True Crime is her name, but it's the same thing. She's doing her makeup and telling a story, and she's just so good at it. But the difference between Sarah and other channels I watch is Sarah has a great sense of humor. And sometimes when things are not great, having a good sense of humor really helps. And she has a way of telling her true crime stories, but also adding her personality into them, which I really, really enjoy, because it can't be easy to sit around and research murder all day long and then just like come and say it like, oh, and then this, and then this. Like, she adds her own personality into the story, and, you know, she doesn't sugarcoat it, but she also has no problem, you know, making fun of the murderers and letting you know like how trash these people really are. And I know that sometimes like it can be hard to remember like these are real people. This isn't like, you know, NCIS and SVU, like these are real people who were really murdered, and these people that did it are trash human beings, and they don't deserve to have their name like plastered. Like, I feel like people like to like take someone like Ted Bundy and be like, well, he was so smart, he was so charming, but like, who cares? Who cares if he was nice? Who cares if he was charming? That wasn't really him. That was a pretend person that he used to trick people. So I like when people are able to like really break it down and be like, no, these people suck, and here's why. Let me tell you why they suck. So this has been a pretty chatty video for me. I don't usually sit down and script videos, but this one I knew I wanted to like hit the points I was trying to hit. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. I don't plan on making true crime content only because I'm not a good storyteller. The people I watch, they have a skill that I don't have, but I thought that maybe it was something that we all might have in common. If there is some sort of content that this inspired you guys to want to hear from me, please let me know in the comments, and don't forget to leave any recommendations you guys have in the comments. And what was the case that got you guys into true crime? I would love to know if any of us have similar cases that got us into true crime. But yeah, that is it for this video. As usual, thanks for stopping by my channel. If you're new here, click the subscribe button and ring that bell for notifications. I have my Twitter and my Instagram down below. Give them a follow, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys!